In some sense, the do-nothing technique is simultaneously the antithesis and the epitome of meditation. It's the antithesis because you aren't actually doing anything. You aren't trying to apply and maintain any special attentional moves or mental perspectives. You aren't trying to be highly concentrated or mindful. You aren't investigating consciousness. None of that. And yet, it is the epitome of meditation because it retrains the mind to be able to just be with whatever it is and dispel the delusion that there is anything to do. This does itself. Things are already of the natural state, and never could they have been otherwise. And the fact that we don't see that is simply due to a lack of context. So, as the name suggests, and we aren't doing anything, then what's the difference between this and just not meditating? If we aren't trying to be concentrated or mindful, isn't that what everyone does? And we simply go about and live the rest of our lives? Well, actually, do nothing meditation is quite specific. And it is something that we need to train to be able to do, or rather, train to be able to stop doing something. Doing nothing doesn't come easily to people. Most of the time, there is an incessant desire to modify experience, to curate the content of consciousness. And do nothing meditation is about learning to let go of that constant sense of efforting until eventually we contextualize the part of the mind that believes it can personally will the world to be different than it is and see that it is just as much a part of the sensory flow as everything else. With this technique, I'm going to explain it in terms of there being two levels, with the first being an essential preparation for the second, and I highly recommend starting with level 1. So the instructions for level 1 do nothing are as follows. Pay attention to whether you are doing something or directing attention in some way, and when you notice that you are, simply stop doing that thing. Now this could include following a stream of thoughts, tracking the breath, paying attention to body sensations, resting in spacious awareness, or really any way in which you notice you are subtly engaging in some process in the mind. What you'll find is that the mind will continuously cling onto different sense impressions, and you'll be subtly feeding them with your attention, in which case you notice this and release attention from them. So level 1, do nothing, is all about continually paying attention to whether you're doing something or whether attention is caught up in some mental activity, noticing that and dropping it. Now, level 2, do nothing, is about dropping even that effort to see whether you are doing anything or not, because that is an efforting itself. And so if we want to drop all effort, we need to let go of the effort of trying to let go of efforting. And then we allow the mind to do whatever it's going to do and simply trust. Now, at level 2, I would add one important point of instruction though. That is, at the beginning of your sit, resolve to do this practice for the duration of the sit. Take a moment to commit to do nothing. And it's important to make this commitment because it's going to carry us through the duration of the practice. And once we've set this intention, we let it go. We forget about it. We let it sift into the subconscious, where it will continue to help guide the mind in the background. And of course, you can do this for level 1 as well. Now, why do I recommend starting with level 1 and not just going straight to level 2? Because if we're not particularly trained in this and we start at level 2, most likely it'll just result in mind wandering and or falling asleep, which isn't the most productive use of time. The ability to do nothing or not pay attention to anything and let go of efforting doesn't come naturally to people, but it can be learned. If we take the 4 stages of competence model and apply it to this do nothing practice, we first need to recognize how incapable we are of just doing nothing. This is becoming conscious of our incompetence. Then, by practicing level 1 do nothing, we can begin to consciously train at becoming competent. And in the beginning, this will require purposely, consciously reminding ourselves to stop engaging with mental phenomena, until finally we've become so familiar with doing nothing and not engaging the mind all the time that we can automatize that letting go process. And we don't have to consciously think about doing it. Now we have unconscious competence, and this is grounds for level 2. Okay, some of the benefits of doing this technique. It's a really good test for seeing where your mind naturally gravitates to. When you do this meditation, do you just spend 15 minutes worrying or planning your day? Do you fall asleep? Do you rest in spacious awareness, etc.? It's also a really good measure for seeing which parts of the mind you've learned to let go of. When you do nothing, what defabricates and what doesn't? Whatever is left in experience may reveal to you which parts of the mind you've yet to see their emptiness. When I'm helping people with their meditation practice, I'm often advising between balancing what I call the doing mode and the being mode, finding the middle way. Sometimes, if our meditation practice is too active, say if we're only doing samatha or always doing vipassana, it can happen that we can't stop meditating, and this can actually be disruptive in life. By doing the do nothing method, we can spend more time in the being mode and balance out our practice more. It is true that there is the inverse problem as well. Sometimes people can spend too much time in the being mode, spending too much time doing nothing, and consequently that can hamper their progress. So we want to find a balance and eventually learn to synthesize the doing and the being mode until there is no difference between them. And this could be called fourth path by some people's standards. By doing this technique, the organism learns to downregulate the circuits involved in efforting, leading to less chronic contractions, less selfing, less suffering, a profound trust in life, and eventually even the realization of nirvana. Okay, cool people, that's do nothing. I hope this video was informative and inspiring. And if you have any questions or queries about meditation, you can go to my website, book a coaching call with me anytime, no matter who you are, and I'll try to help. Also, check out the Patreon page where you can listen to loads of guided meditations, including guides on how to do this technique. Links will be in the description, all of that. Now, go get off the internet and do nothing.